After months of physical and mental preparation, the month of November finally arrived, and with it came the first convention I would be attending as an artist. This is a small recap to see how I fared in the Artist Alley as a first-timer with original projects only. The con I picked a table at was a small local gaming con full of indie developers and familiar faces. Last year I volunteered at one of the info points, so I already got to check out what it might be like. I applied in May and shared a table with a friend from my semester. This was their first time as well, so we figured it would be a smart move financially to split the table cost. The thing that stood out to me last year was the fact that the con was held at the same time as a flea market outside the convention hall. When I walked to the venue this year, though... Okay, so the flea market moved to a different location for the weekend. I can't say how much that impacted anything. The parking situation still sounded really stressful. One thing that wasn't stressful at all, though, was the first 4 hours of Saturday, where I made a whopping 0 sales, a goose egg amount of sales, because no one was even there to look. I decided to make use of the time by doodling a little bit and pondering the amount of noise a pretty much empty event hall can make. Also, one thing about this table was that I almost didn't have this display at the table at all, because it clamps onto the table, right? It has these clamps, and they can fit a pretty thick table. These tables were impossibly thick. I've never seen a table this thick. So, basically, the display didn't fit on the table, and I had to find one of the organizers and get a thinner table, and I was really lucky that this worked at all, because I did not think to have a plan B. Anyway, around noon, I got my first sale along with a really nice conversation about my work, which was such a breath of fresh air among... Slowly, but surely, people were making their purchases. The stickers turned out to be pretty popular. I made those myself, so I could offer them for pretty cheap. The same thing applied to my keychains, which I already made a whole video about. But the gacha didn't quite catch on as much as I hoped. Okay, it's hour 4 of the con, and I have made 2 sales, which is good. But a small child just walked up to my gumball machine for my gacha and started furiously taking out tickets. Once the main wave of visitors left the Artist Alley, I left my table to fend for itself to go check out some new artists, not so new to me artists, and trade business cards. Eventually, our 10-hour day came to a close, so we closed our booth down for the night and prepared to return at 11 a.m. on Sunday for day 2. I walked into the hall on Sunday with low expectations, but was surprised to see a queue in front of the venue when I entered. In contrast to Saturday, people were there immediately. Not in contrast to Saturday, no one was really spending money in the Artist Alley. It felt like window shopping, except you were right behind the window. You were in the window. You were the window. You were something window. I wasn't really bummed about this because while adding everything up from day 1, I discovered that I already made back the fee for my half of the table, as well as some profit. So I also got to enjoy some time with the friends that came over to explore the rest of the hall. Time passed much quicker than on Saturday, on top of the fact that Sunday was objectively 3 hours shorter, so I almost forgot to go around in the final hour and talk to the other artists again before everyone had to start taking their stuff down. Hi to everyone who was there. I made some really cool trades. Thank you. Takedown on day 2 went pretty smoothly, except there was one attendee who was still in the hall when every vendor was closing up, asking to still buy stuff, even though all of the tables were empty, and it was so awkward. Overall, I'd say this was a great first con for me. I spoke to some artists who said they've been doing cons for a few years now, and this was their worst one. But I made table and got time to adjust to the experience of being behind the table instead of the front. So I feel pretty ready to apply to new cons after this. Should be cool, I think. Also, if you're interested in seeing some of the artwork on my booth up close or read about my experience at this con, you should definitely visit my cool website. I made it myself. You can go there, you can look at drawings and read stuff. Go there now.
Sir, can we interest you in a zine? Sir, would you like a zine?
Ich hab dein Zeug unterwegs, weil da so eine fette Spinne dran war.